Hi, my name is LeAnzar Stockley, and this is my interpersonal communication project for Liberty University. And I want to start by saying this. It says that there is a direct link between the quality of your communication and the quality of your life. This is the statement that was made by John Stewart in his book, Bridges Not Walls, a book about interpersonal communication. And I would say that that statement was the first statement that had me stumped. It was the struggle of the interpersonal communications project for me, or the interpersonal communications class, not even just this project. But I began to assess the quality of my life, and I had to look back on some things with my communication style and how I've related to some of the people that have been in my life. And I believe that life is about relationships. So I've looked at a lot of the quality of my life in relation to my relationships with other people. And communication has been a big piece that have made some things not so great. It's been some things that have made some things great, but also have made some things not so great. And I've really realized the concept of wanting to move from being personal to where it's all about me, to move into a place of being interpersonal, where it's really, at the end of the day, it's about us. Realizing that that's what interpersonal communication really is about, or interpersonal skills is really about us, and really connecting with people and communing with them and becoming one with them through conversation particularly, or through communication particularly. It's very important to our life, very important to my life, and it's something that I really want to develop, and I thank God actually for this class as it challenged me. Moving to the next slide, the overarching goal that I have, basically it's simple, is to increase my relationality towards others. I call it relationality, which is basically the quality of my relationships, and I really aim to truly connect. I really aim to build the quality of those relationships and to be a suitable helper for others. A lot of people look at suitable helper as just as like the Bible would say in some cases, the helpmeet, and they look at it as just husband and wife, but I believe that God called us all to be suitable helpers one to another in various aspects of our life, and I seek to do that and aim to do that, and developing an interpersonal communication skills will help to do that. And even in the concept of enlarging conversation, and it just not being fly-by-night, frivolous, superficial conversation, but it being enlarged to the degree where it's more than just getting information, it's actually getting revelation of the other person that you're talking to. It's like soul level connecting. Which is truly relating to me, is when we soul level connect. And that actually opens the door for us to understand, to get understanding. And when we get understanding, I believe that understanding helps us to come to a place of not being so judgmental when we're dealing with one another. Moving to the next slide, we talked about personality a moment ago and saying that my personality has brought about certain things. And in the beginning of the class, we did an assessment, which was kind of fun to do. And it was from the DISC model that talked about, basically, they gave us our personality types. And my personality type came out to be a CS, which basically says that I'm task-oriented and that I'm people-oriented. I have a combination, a blend of the two. And where I can be passive versus a little bit more active. That's typically true of me. And I'm a little bit more reserved than outgoing. I'm kind of laid back, so to speak, is how I would say it. But the C in my personality type is kind of that task-oriented thing, can kind of come off a lot of times as if I'm not very people-oriented, because I am about getting a job done and getting the job done effectively. And sometimes that can overshadow the fact that I am a very relational person. Which is one of the pros of this personality type. I am relational, being a people person, or being people-oriented, in the sense that others can really connect to me and feel comfortable in those times. And I've seen it at work. I've seen it happen in just regular relationships where people are connected and they see the personal side, and there's times where they see my get to the business side. And I want to marry the two where they balance out. Where they're balanced out to the degree where I can put that attention to detail and quality into the relationships that I have. That they become relationships that I do pay attention to the details of them, and that I do understand and pay attention to the quality of the relationships that I have. And that marry that with the loyalty and the security that people can feel in the midst of a relationship that I would have with them, or even in communicating or communications that I would have with them. Going on to the next slide, the barriers to interpersonal contacts. there are many barriers that I have in my communication skills that I am aiming to develop, even in this class, that it has helped me to really take a second look, or third and fourth and fifth look, but to take a look at how I communicate in order to develop in those areas. Peterson talked about in his book why we don't listen better. Communicating and connecting in relationships. Awesome book. It's probably my favorite book in the class. But he pointed out some communication traps, and I have to be the first one to raise my hand and say that I'm guilty of the communication trap. Ritual listening, which is basically giving the idea that you're listening and you're really not, all you're really thinking about is, I wish this person would shut up so I can say what I got to say. That is a huge barrier for me. I have to say I'm guilty of it. Another thing is the Perry Mason mentality. And that's basically, I didn't go to school for law. I'm in school for human services. My first degree was in psychology and counseling. So it's not to drill people and to be unfair in asking a question, but really presenting an accusation. And the other thing is that yes but mentalities. We cannot get our butt out of the way when we're having conversations sometimes. I know I can. I am very guilty of it. I'll say yeah but, and that but a lot of times causes people to be defensive, and it can cause them to shut down in having conversations with me. So those are barriers. There's just a few, because there are more, but there's just a few barriers that really stuck out to me that I really need to aim to develop. And in speaking about developing and moving on to the next slide, my aim is to build a bridge of grace instead of having barriers put up. And in order for that to happen, I have to reduce the internal and the external noise that is going on. Life is moving at 1,000 miles an hour, and I have to begin to reduce some of that external noise and set focus on those that I'm actually in communications with, to be more personable with them and to actually really listen to what they're saying. I want to move from being ritual to relational. Right? The whole concept is to be more relational and connect. This is a human being that I'm in conversation with. So I want to be more connecting and not just going through the motions. Going through the motions makes people feel like they're not worthy of anything. But to be relational says that they matter. So I want to be able to do that and be able to present that in my relationships. Peterson made a statement that said, 2 people work together to figure out what one person is trying to say. 2 set of eyes, 2 experiences, memories, until both clearly understand the developing point of view. So in that relationality together, we kind of make meaning together. And that's what I talked about in my book review, my practical book review. I talked about just that concept of making meaning together that Stewart talks about. And if you will, I'll just read for a moment a little bit of it, where it says that for years, my communicating with other people has simply been to get them to understand my point of view, to accept me, and to accept to some degree what I was trying to say. In the reverse, I never viewed the other person as a resource in helping to make sense of what I was trying to say. And in the reverse, I never really extended myself to help them make sense of what they were trying to say. And in essence, I was saying this reminds me of the concept of making meaning together. Life, relationship, it's really about making meaning together. Even when we don't agree on the same thing all the time, it's still a way that we can make meaning together. So, in addition to making meaning together, I want to be able to have a non-judgmental heart, to listen with a non-judgmental heart, to listen with an open heart, not already determining what I'm going to say next, not already determining how to judge you or what I think of you, but just to simply listen to what the other person is saying for what they are saying. And then Peterson also gave us a very helpful tool to use that I really want to incorporate in my life if I can find someone that doesn't think that it's too corny, to use the talker listener card. TLC, basically. I call it Operation TLC. More than just a singing group, more than just tender love and care, but it's a talker listener card that can be used to help be a guide for our conversations that we have with one another, to help us stay on track and be more personable in our conversations and fair. And the other thing I pulled from was from Burley Allen's book, Listening, the Forgotten Skill. And in this book, she talked about a few things that I listed here that would help in our listening skill, and I really want to develop it for myself in building this bridge. It's searching for some commonality. It helps us to stay engaged and working to listen. Listening can be a job. It can be, it's like work, until you've really gotten it to where it becomes second nature. Focus on central ideas of the person that's speaking. Make mental notes or make notes of the main points that they're talking about. All of these things keep you engaged. Resisting the external distractions that may be going on. Holding the rebuttal. Here we go again, that holding the rebut, keeping our butt out of the way, the rebuttals out of the way, or keeping that part that wants to defend, or the part that wants to say, yeah, but that kind of it causes people to shut down. It causes distractions when you rebut everything someone says. So basically, yeah, because I'm going into it too much, but basically to hold the rebuttal. And then the other thing is to keep an open mind and practice all of these things regularly. These are something that I have to do in order to build the grace, to build a bridge of grace. And then lastly, on our last slide here, we see that my plan of action is simple. It's really only 3 keys that I pulled from Peterson's book, and Why We Don't Listen Better. It's basically to develop a committed heart towards developing the empathy that I have, and that's basically the God in me living outward. All right, and genuineness. Being genuine, letting it really be what you see is what you get, and nothing else is, no hidden agendas. I'm not trying to figure out anything. I'm simply being genuine in the midst of the conversation, in the midst of my interpersonal communications with people. And the last thing is warmth. The Bible says that in the last days that the love of many will wax cold, and I've seen it, I've actually done it, and it's not anything that's fun. So I develop the warmth, and to continue to be warm, and asking God and the Holy Spirit to help me to continue to be warm with others, I can nurture the environments that I'm around and that I am within. And I just want to close with a statement that was made by Peterson, one of Peterson's favorite psychiatrists. He made a statement, and I believe that it will stick with me for the rest of my life. And I've just added to it, and I said, as for me, I want to be, and here's the statement that he made, the kind of person in whose presence good things happen. And that's what I seek to do in my interpersonal communication development. Thank you.